Okay, this is 101 week 6 part 7. So let's keep this up. Um, all right, cool. So you got to control that. You got to control that bad horse, says Socrates. Um, okay, so he's talking about how love works. All right, so let's go. We're on this paragraph now. Moving on. The point, but he describes here a situation in which you're able to control the bad horse, and then if you do that, then you are your soul is growing, and you're focused not on just sex with this individual, really not on this individual. The right way to be in love, says Socrates, is not really being in love with the individual at all. It's that because Socrates says romantic love is never really romantic love. It's always love of something bigger and higher and more significant, a philosophical situation about like it's a ladder that leads you to the love of higher heavenly things. Okay, let's go look at this some more. And so the beloved too, like a god, has received every true and loyal service from his lover. See, that people, this is the thing, people worship, when they fall in love, they worship that person like a god. Because you want to do things for them, bring things for them, sacrifice for them, like religious people would for a god. Um, but again, like with religious people, note that religious people don't do things for God and sacrifice for God because they want to have sex with God. They do, or even because they expect magic powers from God. They do it because they are trying to because it's healthy. It like helps your soul grow, and you want to think about bigger sort of heavenly things. All right, cool. Let's go back to Socrates. All right, cool. And so the beloved, who like a god, has received from every true loyal service from his lover. Um, Not in pretense, but in reality, being also himself of a nature to a friendly admirer. If in former if in former days he has blushed to his own passion and turned, sorry, there's a little kid here that really wanted to hang out and listen about Socrates. And so to the beloved, who, like a god, has received every true and loyal service from his lover, not in pretense, but in reality, meaning you're not just pretending to worship them so you can get laid, but you really did do it. And also himself of a nature friendly to his admirer. If in former days he has blushed to his own passion and turned away his lover, meaning not focused on sex, because his youthful companions or others slanderously told him he would be disgraced, now as years advance, at the appointed age and time, is led to receive him into the communion. So he's talking about social pressure to like people making fun of you for being in love and wanting sex. For fate which has ordained there shall be no friendship among the evil, has also ordained that there shall ever be friendship among the good. Good people love each other is the idea. It doesn't always work out like that, but that's the idea. And the beloved, when he has received him into communion with intimacy, is quite amazed at the goodwill of the lover, and recognizes that the inspired friend is worth all other friends and kinsmen. They have nothing of friendship in them worthy to be compared to this. And when this feeling continues, and he is nearer to him and embraces him in gymnastic exercises and at other times of meeting, because the Greeks invented Olympics and sports like wrestling, which is, on your way to sex, I think. Then the fountain of that stream, which Zeus, when he was in love with Ganymede, named Desire, overflows upon the lover, and some enters into his soul, and some when he is filled flows out again, and as a breeze or an echo rebounds from the smooth rocks and returns whence it came, so does the stream of beauty, passing through the eyes, which are the windows of the soul, come back to the beautiful one. They're arriving and quickening the passages of the wings, and watering them and inclining them to grow, and filling the soul of the beloved also with love. So the point is that if you don't jump right into sex and you have like a kind of intellectual, emotional relationship with somebody, that idea of love goes back and forth. It's not just that your soul grows because you're looking at someone who's beautiful, is they see the beauty in you, and then their soul grows. And that's the concept of it, is that you get to this point where it's like it makes both of you are sort of using each other to get to a higher heavenly sort of emotional thing. Okay, a lot of mosquitoes out here today. So you can see in this whole issue, passing through the eyes, which are the windows of the soul, come back to the beautiful one. They're arriving and quickening the passages of the wings, watering them. See, both the souls have wings. Both of them are getting something out of this. Because I think the opposite of this is when you love someone and you convince them to have sex with you, and it's just like it's one way. it's only you're taking something from the beloved. But for Socrates, if you're in love with someone, it should go back and forth. Both people should get something out of this relationship. Because, and I think in Socrates' day and in our own, a lot of times what we call love is actually a one-way street, where somebody's getting something from someone else, and the other person is just getting things taken from them. Money, attention, focus, whatever. So it's the idea it's supposed to go sort of both ways. And if he loves but knows, and this is the most important part, I put a little star by this. And thus he loves, but knows not what. He does not understand and cannot explain his own state. He appears to have caught the infection of blindness from another, because love makes you blind. The lover is his mirror in whom he is beholding himself. He is not aware of this. The lover is a mirror in whom he is beholding himself, but he is not aware of this. Socrates' idea is that when you fall in love, the other person acts as like a mirror, because you're not taking them. You are seeing yourself and enlarging yourself, and your soul is growing, your mind is growing, you're thinking about those higher heavenly things. And this is a crucial thing. Really, one of the most important parts in all of Plato is really this sentence here. He loves, but he knows not what. People fall in love and they think, I'm in love with that person, but they're not, says Socrates. What they are in love with is bigger than just one person. And I'm going to talk about this in just a second. We're almost at the big point. But that's really, that I underline that because it's really, really important to what Socrates is doing here. But let's finish this page. When he is with the lover, both cease from their pain, right? Because it's painful to be apart from the person you love. But when he is away, he then longs as he is longed for, and has love's image, love for love lodging in his breast, which he calls and believes to be not love but friendship only. The point of this, we don't really need to spend a ton of time on this, but we've spent a lot of time so far. Got to turn the page. We spent a lot of time so far talking about how when you fall in love, what does that do for you? But one of the main points of this is that the same thing is happening to the other. If you're doing it correctly, the same thing that happens to you. Your soul growing wings, thinking on higher heavenly things, should also be happening to the other person. When the bad horse takes over, that doesn't happen, because when the bad horse takes over, you're using the other person for their body or whatever, and they're not getting anything out of it. They're just getting taken. There's a taker and someone getting taken. But here, it should be mutual. Both people are growing. But what's really important is that they think they're in love with each other, but they're not. Okay. All right, so it says, and the desire of the other, but weaker. He wants to see him, touch him, kiss him, embrace him, and probably not long afterwards his desire is accomplished. So he says, yeah, like, Socrates admits here, like, sex is not totally bad. Like, he's not, I mean, Plato is actually pretty anti-sex, but, he admits that, like, if you do it right, sex can be a part of this kind of relationship. He's not totally 100% anti-sex, because he admits later on that you got to give the bad horse a little something. For both people, when it's mutual, when it's respectful, when they're interested, when you want them and they want you, because you're both in this together, is the point of this bit. Okay. As opposed to the other situation earlier, which was much more rapey. It's like the bad horse was going to jump on the other person and just have sex with them, whether they wanted them or not. So Socrates does admit that, like, sex is part of, like, a healthy relationship. As could be. When they meet, the wanton steed of the lover, that's the lustful horse, has a word to say to the charioteer. He would like to have a little pleasure in return for many pains, right? So the bad horse is under control, but he's like, listen, also I still want to have sex with this guy. But the wanton steed of the beloved says not a word, for he's bursting with passion, which he understands not. Because remember, you have your bad horse, but they also have a bad horse. Everybody has a bad horse. He throws his arms around the lover and embraces him as his dearest friend, and when they are side by side, he is not in a state in which he can refuse the lover anything. If he asks him, although his fellow steed and the charioteer oppose him with arguments of shame and reason. So the point of this is that it goes both ways. That if you do it correctly, you got to remember the other person has a soul. They have a good horse and a bad horse. And just as you had to control your bad horse and try to give the good horse what it wanted, which is higher heavenly things, the other person you're in love with needs the same education. Their bad horse needs to be under control, and you have to help them do that, and feed their good horse. Okay, cool. I'll pick this up in the next video.